The story begins with someone who may or may not be the main character introducing himself. His name is Malmont Carl, and he works as a mercenary. Right off the bat, he looks around and asks if anyone knows where they are. Honestly, what an unusual way to start a manhwa. But I heard this series is absolute peak, so stick around and let's find out together. Suddenly, another guy introduces himself. This is Lyle, who used to run a carpenter's shop in Idola. As to why he's here, well, he's sorry, but he doesn't remember a thing. Next up is a guy named Grit, who ran a street stall shop in Halcia, and surprise surprise, he also doesn't know why he's here either. Hold on a minute. Is this a roll call or an unfortunate job interview? Who is actually the main character here? Then, a girl introduces herself. Her name is Jenna, and she lived in a remote forest. She has zero idea as to what's happening too. Finally, the next guy steps up, Islet Han. He was just a simple farmer and doesn't know anything either. Okay, now I'm absolutely sure this guy is the main character. He has that generic, cool, strong manhwa MC vibe going on. Plus, his hair is black, making him look exactly like every other manhwa MC in existence. One person points out the obvious to the group. This means that all 11 of them have no idea where they are or how they even got here. As they keep questioning themselves for answers, someone asks Carl and Lyle if they were dragged here by some rogue mage to be used as experimental subjects. Carl doesn't believe that for a second, but Lyle is certain that at least everyone here is from a place called Tonia. He suggests that if they keep talking, they might be able to gather some good information. Suddenly, a girl with wings appears out of nowhere and cuts them off, asking what kind of nonsense they are all talking about. She announces that the master has just opened a time and space crack, so they all need to shut up and get ready to fight. Turns out this girl is a fairy, and she is so small that she can literally fit inside the palm of your hand. Someone asks who she is, and she proudly declares that she is Isel, the fairy who manages this place. She warns them that they better stay in line if they don't want to get hurt. Carl angrily confronts Isel, asking if she's the one who kidnapped them, but she immediately shuts him down, telling him it's none of his business. Carl loses his chill, draws his sword, and calls her shameless for saying that after kidnapping them, he's going to make her spill all the information. Isel just lets out a heavy sigh and tells him to stop acting stupid unless he wants to die. But Carl has absolutely no chill button on him. He starts throwing shots at her tiny size and her big mouth. Isel just smirks and asks why he's acting like this, while Carl vows to teach her a lesson on manners for starters. In an instant, Carl's head is completely disengaged from his body. A system notification instantly pops up, saying, Malmont, 2 stars, has returned to the goddess's embrace. His fighting spirit will be remembered for eternity. Damn, first blood already. And get this, the cause of death is officially listed as suicide due to stress. This system is capping hard. Naturally, everyone else instantly gets terrified. Isel warns them to listen carefully and stop acting stupid, unless they want to become stress-free too. She coldly reminds them that they will die instantly if they dare lay a finger on her. Don't worry, it's just self-defense if they do. The rest of the group starts freaking out over Carl's sudden suicide. Isel tells them that all she wants from them is to be obedient, fight well, and win well. That's all. Seems easy enough, right? Just then, a new notice arrives. Party has been formed via drag and drop. Lyle, Ranto, Marlin, Kelkert, and Jackson, all of them low-tier, 1-star heroes, have officially joined Party 1. Isel tells them that the one called the Master has finally started the game, so everyone should be ready. She chants, "Open up, crack of space and time," and a huge stone door behind her begins to grind open. Lyle, Ranto, Marlin, Kelkert, and Jackson are ordered to go through the gate immediately if they don't want to die like the last guy. Wait a minute. Our main character finally speaks up. Isel looks at him, already annoyed, proving this doesn't seem like their very first meeting. Han asks her a crucial question. If she also wants them to climb the tower, then the Master must choose their weapons first. They are only 1 stars, and they don't even have basic equipment. She doesn't want to just send out a literal suicide squad, right? Nearby, the red-haired girl, Jenna, wonders what the MC is even going on about. But Han argues that a precious 2-star hero just died. So shouldn't the fairy at least allow a gear request? Isel checks Carl's dead stats and realizes he's right. She pulls up a system keyboard and texts the Master. The heroes have no equipment. Summoning equipment will lead to a smooth battle ahead. She also throws in a helpful system tip. Heroes entering battle without weapons will only carry a trash-tier old iron sword, rank F. However, if the master places weapons into the weapon storage, the heroes will automatically be equipped, and the master can choose exactly which weapons are used. The master takes the bait and starts a 10 consecutive equipment summon, dropping 50,000 gold. The pull results are in. Master Anything has obtained an iron sword, rank E+, a low-grade bow, rank E-, and a morning star, rank D+. Lal asks Han if he knows something about this place. Han bluntly replies that he doesn't know much because he hasn't been here for very long. Hearing this, Jenna gets highly suspicious, sensing that Han is definitely lying. Han tells everyone that all he does know is that they will all die if they don't do this properly. He points toward the armory building and tells them it'd be best to grab weapons from over there because it's going to start soon. What's starting? Someone asks. Han responds with one cold word. The battle. The crowd instantly panics. Some complain that they have absolutely no idea how to fight, while others desperately rush over to grab whatever weapons they can find. Soon, Party 1 assembles with weapons in hand. Lal notices that Carl's corpse has completely vanished into thin air. He asks Isel if that's some kind of magic, but Isel, arrogant as ever, just tells them to shut up and get into the gate right now. Lal reaches out, and his hand slides straight through the glowing warp gate. Before they can even question this weird portal, Isel yells at them to stop dawdling and go in immediately. Meanwhile, Jenna is still closely observing RMC. She notices that out of all the gear, Han only picks up a low-grade wooden shield, rank E+. She's completely surprised by his choice and briefly wonders if she should just snatch it away from him. She confronts him, asking if he actually knows what's going to happen, why they even need weapons, where they are, and what the deal is with this crazy fairy. Han looks at her and says she is asking way too many questions. He tells her to just go into the arena and unalive all the enemies. The rest will take care of itself. A few seconds after Party 1 steps through the gate, a member of the squad suddenly returns to the goddess's embrace. Han is shocked at how brutally quick that was. Jenna asks him what's wrong, because for some reason, the ordinary heroes can't see the system death announcements yet. Right on cue, the rest of Party 1 starts dropping like flies, returning to the goddess's embrace one by one. Han isn't entirely surprised. After all, they were just weak, one-star heroes. Jenna keeps pestering him for answers, so he firmly tells her to be quiet. Once Lyle, the final member of Party 1, gets wiped out, a notification flashes across the system. Party 1 has been completely annihilated. You lose. Han is slightly taken aback by how insanely fast they were wiped out. Isel, on the other hand, is absolutely furious. She curses them out for getting annihilated on literally the very first floor. With the first team dead, the system immediately starts rolling the gacha to form another party. This time, Han, Jenna, and a few other one-star heroes are dragged into the new Party 1 lineup. Han says, "It's our turn next," as Isel screams for the remaining recruits to step forward. Jenna nervously asks why the people who just went in aren't coming back out. Before anyone can answer, a sly old man steps up to the fairy. He complains that his arthritis is suddenly acting up and he can't walk anymore. So could he please be left out of the fight? Jenna doesn't buy such an obvious, pathetic lie and immediately calls him out on it. When Jenna sees Han calmly walking toward the portal, she grabs the old man and quickly follows behind the MC, realizing they'll need to stick together if they want any chance of survival. The old man's desperate excuses are completely ignored. Isel snaps at the old man, telling him to shut the FCK up and get ready. Other recruits try to scream out questions and complaints, but they are completely ignored too. Isel shouts out a final, aggressive word of encouragement, and the second party goes straight through the gate. Party 1 appears in a completely unfamiliar stone structure. Looking around, they wonder if they've been sent to some kind of ancient temple. There are several massive gates lined up, but suddenly, the door to the main dungeon floor 1 begins to open. The system sounds an alarm, informing the heroes to get ready. Han immediately takes a solid fighting stance, throwing out one final warning before they are teleported onto a wide, grassy field. Every single hero except for Han completely freezes up, stunned by their new surroundings. One guy panics, asking where on earth they just got sent to. Han glances forward, grips his weapon, and replies, "Where else? The battlefield." Standing right in front of them is a vicious pack of monsters. The system updates their objective. Floor 1 mission. Subjugation. Objective. annihilate all level 3 goblins. Han glares at the oncoming horde and gives his team one last reality check. You will die if you don't fight, so pull yourselves together. Well, things go downhill fast. It's already too late for the rest of the squad. As soon as the goblins charge, everyone except Han and Jenna completely throws away their weapons and runs for their lives, including that old man who just claimed his arthritis was paralyzing him. Jenna screams at the old man for lying, but the panic is real. The system screen flashes, showing that Jenna and the rest of the cowards are now in a state of fear, meaning all of their stats are instantly reduced by 30%. Well, all except for our main character, who remains completely unbothered. The cowards try to sprint as far away as they can, only to violently crash straight into an invisible wall. Jenna is shocked to see a barrier there, while the runners frantically realize they are totally trapped. They have no idea why they can't get out, and the old man even starts desperately banging on the glass wall, screaming to be let out. Han just looks at them, thinking they are absolutely pathetic. After realizing there's no escape, Jenna snaps out of it and asks Han if they can get out if they just erase the goblins. Seeing no other choice, she and Han prepare for battle. Han glances at her bow and asks if she actually knows how to use it. She tells him that she definitely does, because her father was a hunter. Han lays out his strategy. He will step up to frontline and tank the monsters, while she supports him by shooting arrows from the back. Jenna is still worried about the group hiding by the wall, but Han tells her to completely ignore them. They won't be of any help anyway. As the level 3 goblins close in, ready to slice them to pieces, Han grips his weapon. The crazy part? Han has never actually wielded a real sword or shield before in his entire life. As a goblin leaps forward, swinging its blade, Han skillfully blocks the attack with his shield. The battle has officially begun. As he fights, the main character explains his true identity. In this world, his character name is Islet Han, but his real name is Han Seojin, and he quickly realizes he has been sucked into a brutal game that is completely obsessed with luck. He explains that Pick Me Up is a notorious mobile game developed by a company called Mobius. The ultimate goal of the game is to climb all the way to the 100th floor of a massive tower. To do that, players have to grind for materials, fortify their base, support their heroes, and use intense strategies to clear each floor. Until yesterday, Han Seojin was just living an ordinary life, playing this game in his bedroom, despite having absolutely atrocious gacha luck. Even after spending a ton of money on thousands of pulls, he had never once summoned a hero above 5 stars, while ordinary players had 6 and 7 stars. He noticed a special event dungeon had opened up. It had an insanely low drop rate for a legendary item called the Book of Reversal, which could be used to create a powerful 7-star hero. Since he desperately needed it, he obviously had to join. But Pick Me Up has one hardcore rule that sets it apart from any other mobile game. Permadeath. It doesn't matter if your hero is a weak 1-star or a maxed out 6-star. If they die even once in battle, they are deleted forever. Because the dungeon was highly dangerous, Han decided to send in a trash recon squad that he didn't care about, Party 38, just to scout things out. But as soon as the dungeon loaded, a warning sign flashed. His entire party was hit with a state of fear, dropping their stats by 30%. The party leader immediately begged to retreat, but Han ignored the panic. He just wanted to see the boss's attack patterns before they wiped. But when the boss finally appeared, Han was stunned. Its level was listed as 999, and its name was written in glitch symbols, looking like a total software bug. Within seconds, his team was completely destroyed, and the screen read, "You lose." Han was annoyed, thinking the boss was just a developer error since his heroes were wiped out before he could even see the patterns. But then, something terrifying happened. The glitched boss remained on the screen, staring directly through the phone at Han. Suddenly, the monster smiled an evil grin and said, "Found you." Instantly, a strange sensation rushed over Han, and his entire world went pitch black. When he finally saw light again, a system window appeared floating in front of him, reading, "Creating your account." Next, a prompt appeared asking to choose a name. Han watched and wondered, what's going on, as the username anything, short for anything, was automatically typed out. He had absolutely no control over his body or the screen. The system then flashed a message. "Welcome, anything, to the world of Pick Me Up. Complete the tutorial to receive." When Han finally opened his eyes, He realized he had transmigrated into the body of a boy named Islet Han, standing in a small village within the Heim province. But there was no time to relax. He was holding a sword, and the entire town was burning down around him. This world is called Tonia, a land where humans live alongside various other species. Unfortunately, this peaceful land was currently being invaded by an unknown enemy, the player, also known as the Master. To save the world and climb the tower, the Master must command heroes. In other words, Han had just been reincarnated as a literal gacha hero for another player's mobile account. The tutorial quest popped up: defeat the goblins invading the town. Han started to panic because the smell of smoke and blood was way too realistic. But as a goblin leaped at him to strike, he didn't have time to complain. He braced himself and blocked the blade. While Han was fighting for his life, a notification was sent to the Master up in the real world, informing them that auto-combat had proceeded, driven by the hero's high-class AI. Han struggled at first, but using his top-tier gamer brain, he managed to knock the weapon out of the goblin's hand and strike it down. His mind could barely process the horrifying feeling of actually killing a living creature. After clearing the stage and leveling up, the system granted the Master rewards. Han caught his breath, looking around at the UI, completely confirming that he was stuck inside Pick Me Up. Up above, the system prompted the Master to pull a new comrade before the next stage. Since the first high-rank summon was free, the Master clicked the button. Suddenly, a brilliant light burst through the summoning door. A spectacular notification flashed. Super rare summon. 4-star hero Shay has appeared. The system then walked the Master through forming a party, pairing the 1-star Han with the 4-star Shay. Immediately, the Master sent them straight into the next dungeon. Inside the stage, the power difference was insane. Shay easily carved through the goblins like butter. She even glanced at Han and criticized his terrible sword form. Han just sighed and told her it was literally his first time using a sword. Thanks to her overwhelming 4-star stats, Shay cleared the entire stage in a flash and secured the MVP title. With a 3-star rank difference between them, Han couldn't even complain about her attitude. But the real nightmare started right after the battle. A new system prompt appeared. To enhance your heroes, synthesis is now unlocked. The doors to the synthesis chamber have opened. Han's face went completely pale. As a top-ranked player, he knew exactly what synthesis meant: sacrificing low-star heroes as EXP fodder to level up the high-star heroes. And right now, he was the lowest-rated 1-star unit on the account. He was about to be deleted to make Shay stronger. Right on cue, the fairy guide Isel appeared, commanding him to hurry up and step inside because the Master was waiting. Han blankly stared at her and called her by her name. This completely caught her off guard. She gasped, asking how a random 1-star NPC knew her name, demanding to know what he actually was. Han looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Because I was a pick-me-up player. My name is Han Seo-jin, from Gangseo Gu, Seoul. You need to send me back while I'm still being nice." Isel checked the system records and got completely frustrated. According to the data, this unit was supposed to be Islet Han from Heim province, but his face and soul didn't match the file at all. She asks him if he's from Earth. Han snapped at her, asking if she thought he was from Mars, demanding a way home. Visibly stressed, Isel refused to listen and tried to force him into the chamber. Han fought back, but Isel insisted that he wouldn't die, he was just getting synthesized. Han yelled back that being melted down into raw experience points is the exact same thing as dying. Despite his screaming, Isel managed to ruthlessly shove him inside the chamber anyway, where Shay was already waiting for the upgrade. A second later, the machine activated, and Han watched in horror as a strange blue flame began to consume his hands, pulling him into the terrifying process of hero synthesis. As the blue flames wrap around him, Han prepares for the end. In Pick Me Up, synthesis enhances a hero by combining them with another, but one must become the sacrifice. One hero gets a power-up, and the other is consumed in the process. The problem here is that Han is a lowly 1-star, and the female knight, Shay, is a super rare 4-star. A normal player would have zero reason to sacrifice a 4-star to leave a 1-star alive. Han closes his eyes and accepts his fate, knowing no sane person would make such a pull. Suddenly, a system message flashes. Synthesis complete. Han opens his eyes, shocked to find himself completely intact. A second notification pops up, revealing that Shay, the 4-star hero, is the one turning into light and disappearing. Han is utterly confused. This master really isn't normal to pull such an absurd move. Shay, accepting her fate, looks at Han with a calm smile and tells him that she simply wasn't chosen, leaving the rest up to him. Those are the beautiful knight's last words before she completely vanishes, leaving Han totally speechless. Back in the present battlefield of Floor 1, the chaos continues. One of the 3 cowards, whose name isn't even worth mentioning, gets taken out by a goblin's blade and instantly returns to the goddess's embrace. Han firmly warns Jenna not to let her guard down if she wants to stay alive, but she is busy screaming at the remaining 2 cowards to step up and fight as the monsters close in. While fending off the horde, Han thinks back to how he survived the synthesis chamber. Synthesizing heroes is a drag and drop function where a player touches and drags the card of the hero they want to sacrifice. Either the master made a clumsy dragging mistake, or they are playing the game without thinking things through. Han only survived because the master was incredibly stupid, which perfectly reminds him why he always called this a shit game. After cutting down 2 goblins, Han turns to ask Jenna about the 2 monsters on her side. She manages to take down one, but before she can finish, Han yells for her to come over. In that split second, a goblin ambushes Han from behind, using its blade to cut off his arm. Gritting his teeth in raw anger, Han spins around and violently smashes his shield directly into the goblin's face. As he prepares to finish it, Han reflects on how he got trapped in this nightmare. He still doesn't know how he was summoned into Pick Me Up as a 1-star hero named Han Islet, but he remembers one distinct thing. Right before blacking out in his room, that level 999 bug boss looked directly at him through the screen and laughed. That thing must have dragged him here, but it messed with the absolute wrong person. With a surge of fury, Han brutally finishes off the goblin that stabbed him. Once the battle concludes, Jenna rushes over, frantically asking to check his injury. Han brushes her off, telling her he'll be fine once they return to the home base. He knows that this game features almost 0 direct player control during combat, meaning the hero's AI automatically handles most of the fighting. Despite the hands-off gameplay, the game boasts over 1 million downloads worldwide because players love observing the world like a literal god from above. Looking up at the sky, Han knows the player is watching the entire simulation unfold. He lets out a smirk and asks aloud if the master is having fun. After all, Han was also a dedicated player who loved the item crafting, the deep strategy, and the hero ascension mechanics with all their hidden features. Even if it's a brutal, doomed game, he needs this master not to quit. With a terrifyingly intense glare directed at the sky, he silently dares the master and any potential viewers to watch him survive until the very end. After all, his real username is Loki, the top 5 global player and the master of masters. The stage is officially cleared, and Han secures the MVP title. Back at the home base, Han decides to fully accept his new reality. Whining is for children, and he refuses to complain anymore. He has been summoned as a 1-star hero from birth, and in this world, there are only 2 ways for a hero to die: falling in battle or being melted down in synthesis. Being a 1-star unit in Pick Me Up makes you entirely disposable trash with pathetic base stats and an awful growth rate. At this rate, he will never escape the constant threat of being used as experience fodder. He checks his current status window, level 5, with 44 out of 50 experience points. His class is novice, and his strength, intelligence, stamina, and dexterity are all sitting at a mediocre flat 15, with absolutely no unique skills to speak of. Han vows to become stronger. Survival, revenge, and finding a way home are entirely impossible if he remains weak. He must adjust and accept the brutality of this world, or he will be eaten alive. The relentless physical training reminds him of his time in the military, which absolutely sucked. But he knows it isn't just physical strength he needs. He has to forge an unbreakable mentality to survive an environment this unstable. Han reflects on the fact that he grew up perfectly fine without parents or anyone else protecting him, realizing he needs to tap back into that exact same survival tension from his youth. While he is in the middle of his workout, Jenna walks over and asks what he's doing. Han bluntly barks back that he's training to kill monsters. Jenna winces slightly at his harsh tone, but chooses to stay quiet since they barely know each other. Picking up a bow and arrow, she admits she stayed up all night thinking about their situation. Since they are completely trapped here, she decided she won't be a useless burden. Her father was a professional hunter, so archery has always been her hobby. She knows crying and whining won't change their fate, and it's obvious to her that Han is the only one who actually knows how to survive. Han asks her if yesterday's skirmish was her first time fighting for her life. When Jenna confirms that she usually preferred to just stay at home, Han asks how accurate she is with a bow. She sheepishly replies that it's a 50-50 shot. Han secretly pulls up her stat window and notices she actually gained 4 stat points from clearing the first stage. While her raw numbers are lower than his, she possesses actual unique skills. Despite her initial fear, she still managed to kill a goblin on her very first try and seems to move past the deaths of the other recruits remarkably fast. Recognizing her as a diamond in the rough, Han agrees to form an alliance. Jenna flashes a bright smile and extends her hand, mentioning that her dad always taught her that making the right connections is the most important thing in life. That's certainly great advice for passing a corporate job interview. Han firmly shakes her hand anyway, cementing their partnership as teammates. Immediately, a system message pops up. Jenna feels goodwill towards Han. Intimacy bonus has been created. In this game, heroes receive direct stat boosts when forming parties with characters they share a high intimacy level with. Later on, Han loudly calls out for Isel. The fairy appears instantly, looking visibly annoyed that he interrupted her while she was busy. Han mocks her for showing up so incredibly fast for someone who claims to be swamped. Isel snaps that she isn't going to answer a single one of his questions. If he's so curious about the secrets of this world, he needs to manually climb to the top of the tower where the answers are kept. Han casually counters by telling her that he is the only one who can see the floating status windows above her head. Isel freezes in speechlessness before nervously trying to deny it. Han effortlessly shuts her down by reading out her exact level. 257. Terrified, Isel stammers that he can only see it due to some glitched system mix-up, quickly biting her tongue when she realizes she is talking too much. Her panicked reaction gives Han all the confirmation he needs. He is absolutely the only entity in this world who can read the game's internal system logs and the Master's personal account messages. Han presses further, asking what happens to them if the Master decides to delete the app and quit, telling him he better pray to the gods that never happens. Left to his thoughts, Han realizes that the Master synthesizing a 4-star into a 1-star wasn't just a regular mistake. Paid gacha summons only have a miserable 1% drop rate for a 4-star hero, meaning the Master completely wasted a miracle pull on a catastrophic blunder. Because Pick Me Up binds itself entirely to a user's specific device hardware, the account can't even be reset or restarted. Furthermore, Han recalls checking his phone a week after his initial login back on Earth. He turns back to Isel and asks if the time flow in this world runs differently than Earth's. Isel furiously screams at him that she already told him to stop asking questions. But her sheer defensiveness tells Han everything he needs to know. Time moves much faster here, and every second counts if he wants to survive. Isel gets even more furious at Han, screaming that he is nothing but a little 1-star trash. Han doesn't flinch. He knows the system rules inside and out. The guide fairy can't actually harm him or interfere unless it's a matter of absolute self-defense or a direct violation of the Master's orders. Han plans to figure out the rest of the hidden rules one by one just like this, fully aware that he will be eliminated if he can't adapt to how this brutal world works. Seeing the intense exchange, Jenna cautiously asks Han what exactly he was arguing about with Isel. Han breaks down the fundamental mechanics of their reality to her, explaining that they are trapped in a giant tower with 100 floors. A being known as the Master issues commands through Isel, and they have to successfully complete every single mission handed down to them. If they ever want to escape and return home, they have to survive all the way to the 100th floor. Jenna nods along, realizing the grim reality. They will have to slaughter an endless horde of monsters, which is exactly why Han has been training so ruthlessly to get stronger. When she asks if it will just be the two of them handling this nightmare forever, Han clarifies that the Master can continuously use the gacha system to summon more people, meaning their squad will keep growing, even if their lives ultimately hang entirely on the whims and choices of the Master. After wrapping up a brutal day of conditioning, Han uncovers some incredibly interesting rules governing the home base. Daily necessities and food automatically refill every single morning. Even more fascinating, if a hero vividly imagines a specific item they want, it will mysteriously materialize inside their bedroom drawer or closet, though obviously modern firearms and game-breaking weapons are strictly off-limits. He also notices that the results of training are entirely different. Now he can understand something that he didn't know player of Pick Me Up. Certain heroes inexplicably possessed completely different combat capabilities despite sharing the exact same star rank, because they were lazy with their training. Now that he is living inside the game, he realizes they weren't just pre-programmed AI units. They were heroes who never slacked off on their training. While training doesn't directly increase raw level or numerical stats, it significantly refines skill execution and unlocks general combat talents. Han realizes that an observant master will quickly categorize their roster into 3 distinct groups. The first is based on mentality, since a smart player has zero patience for heroes prone to instantly panicking in battle. The second group is determined by skills. While high-ranking heroes are summoned with powerful abilities already fully learned, low-ranking 1-star heroes possess deeply hidden talents that a master must actively search for and nurture. The third category is raw physical capability, which is exactly what Han is focusing on improving right now. By the 3rd day of continuous training, the master finally logs back into the account, and Han manages to successfully unlock 2 new skills from his hard work. He warns Jenna to stay alert because the master has arrived. Jenna is shocked by how quickly the time flew by, but Han reminds her it has already been 3 days in their time. Right on cue, the master begins triggering new hero summons. Han predicts the player will form a standard 5-person party, meaning 3 more poor souls are about to be dragged into this mess. 3 brand new heroes are materialized into the lobby, immediately screaming and angrily demanding to know where they are. Before they can even catch their breath, Jenna steps in and tells them to shut up and prepare for an imminent fight, promising that everything will be explained later once they are safe, assuming they even survive the next few minutes. Right as she speaks, Isel opens the tower gates. Han urges Jenna to grab her weapon before it's too late as the newcomers are automatically dragged into the Party 1 lineup. Han realizes with a grim sigh that he doesn't have any spare high-tier equipment to pass down to them because the entire squad from the first floor died and took their gear with them. Isel tells everyone to get out. Some of the newbies try to aggressively demand answers from the fairy, but Jenna quickly holds them back, warning them that the last guy who tried to fight Isel met a truly horrifying end. When one of the men turns to question Jenna, Han cuts him off, telling him there's absolutely no point in explaining the mechanics right now since they will figure out the life or death reality of this place in a matter of minutes anyway. The 3 new heroes stay behind to bicker with Isel, prompting a worried Jenna to ask if they will be okay. Han coldly replies that they'll survive as long as they don't do something stupid to provoke the fairy. Moments later, Isel herds the group through the crack of space and time, warning the fresh recruits to behave and follow orders exactly like Han and Jenna do. As the portal seals shut, she gives a little wave and tells them to have fun. The squad materializes on floor 2, where the system mission updates: eliminate all enemies. The heroes spawn directly onto the field with weapons automatically equipped in their hands. While the 3 newbies stand frozen in absolute confusion, Han snaps at Jenna to get ready. Their opposition consists of a deadly pack of prairie wolves and goblins. Instantly, the 3 new recruits drop into a state of fear, causing their stats to plummet by 30%. To Han's frustration, he looks over and notices that Jenna has also succumbed to the panic, her stats dropping by 30% as well. Han immediately slams his shield into Jenna's side, playfully asking her if she ate something bad for breakfast. The sudden, blunt joke completely breaks her out of the panic, returning her stats to normal. Relieved, Han instructs her to focus entirely on handling the 2 goblins while leaving the aggressive prairie wolves to him. With the terrified newbies acting as completely useless, the enemy horde launches its attack. A massive wolf lunges at Han, and he drives his sword straight into its open mouth. However, because his basic weapon is of such garbage quality, the beast doesn't die instantly. Undeterred, Han forces the blade down through the wolf's body, slicing it completely apart. Sensing another wolf ambushing him from the flank, he raises his shield to block its snapping jaws, swings his sword, misses, but immediately follows up with a lightning-fast secondary slash that carves the beast in 2. After taking care of his side, Han turns around to check on the goblins, only to find them pinned flat to the ground, looking like absolute pincushions. Jenna is standing over them, completely out of breath, having fired a ridiculous number of arrows. Han can't help but joke, telling her that she turned the goblin into a hedgehog rather than a monster, asking how many arrows she actually wasted. He tells her to finally stop shooting because the creature is long dead. Jenna relaxes as a golden system window materializes, announcing that the stage has been successfully cleared. Both Han and Jenna receive a level-up notification, with Han claiming the MVP title once again. The account is rewarded with 5,000 gold coins, 1 C-rank iron ore, and 3 C-rank leather pieces. The party is automatically pulled back from the tower. The system flashes a congratulatory message for clearing the second floor, but instead of letting them rest, the system immediately prompts them to proceed straight to floor 3. Han realizes the master has absolutely no chill. Jenna panics, wondering what is happening, while Han deduces that because of what happened on the second floor, the impatient master is trying to force a consecutive run. Han knows that dragging a uncoordinated team straight into floor 3 will lead to an immediate wipeout. But just as he braces for the worst, the master suddenly logs out of the game. Isel lets out a massive sigh, complaining about how exhausting her job is. Han glares at her, deeply annoyed that she is whining about being tired when they were the ones doing all the work. Han calculates the time conversion rate. The master seems to clear 1 floor per day in the real world. If time flows 3 times faster inside the lobby, it means they have exactly 3 days of downtime before the master can log back in. Han checks his updated status window. He notices a bizarre change. His intelligence stat has actually decreased by 1 point, while his strength has increased by 2, resulting in a total stat gain of 4 points across his level up and training. His overall efficiency at leveling up is visibly getting cleaner, proving his physical physique is rapidly adapting and improving. He realizes that if the master had kept pushing forward blindly without logging off, everyone would have been in extreme danger of permadeath. Walking back out into the common area, Han spots 2 of the new heroes aggressively cornering Jenna, angrily demanding answers while she desperately tries to explain their bizarre new reality. Han sighs, knowing that 1-star heroes are fundamentally just regular commoners who have spent their entire lives far away from a battlefield. They do nothing but complain about never holding a sword or knowing how to fight monsters, completely oblivious to the fact that everyone else is in the exact same boat. Now, Han fully understands why players refer to 1-star units as disposables. A 2-star hero like the deceased Carl is classified as a seasoned mercenary, meaning the higher a unit star rating, the more combat-ready their summon soul actually is. High-ranking heroes don't hesitate, whereas 1-star commoners immediately plunge into a panic the moment blood is spilled. 3-star units and above, however, are completely different. They start fighting immediately because they are fully aware they are inside a simulation and know exactly what their purpose is. Hero Shay definitely knew the truth, which perfectly explains her proud, knightly behavior before she was deleted. Jenna escapes the shouting newcomers and walks over to Han, completely exhausted. She complains about how incredibly difficult and uncooperative the newbies are, asking if he can step in and help them train. Han initially sees absolutely no reason to waste his energy helping useless beastards who will likely die anyway. Jenna argues back, insisting that it is much better to train them and turn them into reliable colleagues rather than having no allies at all, especially since they will just return to the goddess's embrace the second they step into a real dungeon. Han relents slightly, deciding to observe them for now to see how they handle the pressure. If they don't die in battle, their alternative fate is simply being melted down in the synthesis chamber anyway. Han coldly announces that in the very next battle, he and Jenna will be handling 100% of the fighting, so the rest of them don't need to worry about lifting a finger. Before he can walk away, one of the newbies slowly steps forward to ask him a question. Han turns away and tells the newbie not to bother because it's annoying, but the guy isn't taking no for an answer. He angrily grabs Han's shirt, and without missing a beat, Han flat out punches him square in the face. Han confronts the stunned recruit, pointing out that while he and Jenna were bleeding during the last battle, the newbies were just doing absolutely nothing behind them. The guy immediately gets scared. Someone has finally shown him that not everyone in this place is a pushover like Jenna. Han turns to Jenna and tells her he did what she wanted by talking to them. Jenna looks quite pleased with the result. The next day, training continues. Once the basic conditioning exercises are wrapped up, weapon training starts. Even though they call it weapons training, all Han does is swing a wooden sword while Jenna practices shooting arrows. Despite the simple setup, Han's dedication pays off as he successfully levels up both his basic swordsmanship and basic shield techniques. The other 3 newbies don't even bother to show up to the training hall. They claim they are going to look for an exit and escape, but of course there is no exit to be found. Later on, Jenna starts shooting live arrows at Han as part of a high-intensity training drill. He somehow manages to block most of them with his shield, except for one rogue shot that pierces straight into his right thigh. Jenna looks incredibly worried and frantically asks if he's okay, but Han tells her not to worry. He pulls the arrow right out of his flesh, and the wound magically begins to heal. He tells her not to think of this place as the same physical world they lived in before. In this environment, he will be fine quickly. Through enduring the injury, Han also obtains the skill, pain tolerance. He gets quickly back on his feet and demands they keep going, declaring that he won't stop just because it hurts. The pain is proof that he's alive. As they continually keep training, Han awakens a powerful new skill that combines his basic swordsmanship and basic shield techniques into one. Basic sword shield techniques, level 3. The next day, the master returns. Isel is back at it again, screaming at the camp that if the master appears, they must all assemble in the square immediately unless they want to get into serious trouble. This time, Jenna is actually looking forward to the summons, itching to do something active after all that intense training. It seems she has adapted to this reality even better than our main character, proving to be quite driven compared to the remaining nameless heroes. Some of those recruits are still uselessly complaining about the food and refusing to fight. Their princess attitudes completely enrage Isel, who abruptly punches them unprovoked. She openly declares she would rather write a formal apology letter to the system than listen to their whining, and she continues to ruthlessly beat them up. By the time she is done, the newbies have severely swollen faces and finally decide to listen, heading straight toward the 3rd floor. The 3rd mission objective flashes: annihilate all enemies, which turns out to be goblins once again. Han tells Jenna that his weapons and combat techniques have significantly improved. He reassures her that there is nothing to fear and that she should just execute her role exactly like they did in training. They launch their attack on the goblins, with Han smoothly stabbing one monster while flawlessly blocking another with his shield. Just as he predicted, the 3rd floor is an absolute breeze. The stage is cleared, Jenna levels up, and she takes the MVP title. The victory is so effortless that even Jenna starts to think this game is quite doable, while Han finds the whole thing pretty boring. Jenna notices that the newbies still refuse to step up and fight, but Han says it doesn't matter. He has no desire to share experience points with those beastards anyway. If a unit doesn't participate in the actual combat, they won't receive a single point of experience. Suddenly, the system prompts the master to make the disobedient heroes run circles, and the master accepts a command to re-attempt the 1st floor. Han and Jenna immediately realize they are not finished for the day as they respawn right back onto the 1st floor map. Confronted by the exact same low-level monsters from their first day, the battle quickly ends with Jenna securing MVP. But the master still isn't done. The player immediately attempts the 1st floor yet again. Han grows highly annoyed that the master won't give them a break just because the clears are ending so easily. Another easy clear passes, and the master immediately forces them back into floor 3. The stage is cleared once more. Later, both Jenna and Han are completely exhausted. Jenna wonders if the master is going to ruthlessly send them back in, but to their relief, the player lets them go. Jenna vents to Han, admitting she is getting incredibly pissed off and wonders how much longer they have to look after those lazy beastards. Han tells her not to worry about it. The master clearly has different plans for the deadweight. Right on cue, the synthesis room Loudy starts up. The 3 newbies stand stunned, wondering what the glowing room is, as the system explicitly asks the master to drag and drop heroes to be sacrificed, informing everyone that sacrificed heroes will die. Han isn't surprised at all. Those idiots simply didn't know a massive opportunity when it was given to them. In his opinion, they were handed a rather large chance to prove their worth. Even though small events happen outside of the player's mobile screen, it's not like the master is totally unaware of what's happening. The master can easily look at the clear logs to see who is fighting on the front line contributing greatly, and who is being lazy. Currently, Han and Jenna are being heavily favorited by the account. By the master's direct order, Isel commands Jenna and a newbie named Elson to step into the synthesis center immediately. Jenna gets visibly nervous, but Han firmly reassures her that she will be fine and nothing bad will happen to her. Elson, panicking, asks Han what is going to happen to them if they go in there. Han coldly tells him that he'll probably be judged for his actions. Elson angrily shouts back, complaining that all he did was get dragged to this world for no reason. Han tells him that's just his own skewed perspective. For the first time, Isel actually likes the words coming out of Han's mouth, noting that things would have been better for Elson if he had actually helped out. Han adds that even if Elson couldn't fight well, things would have turned out completely differently if he had just tried. Isel tells Elson that everyone is sick of cleaning up after him anyway, telling him to just get inside. Inside the synthesis center, Elson frantically shouts and bangs against the door, screaming to be let out and asking how they can do this to him. The synthesis process begins, and a horrifying surge of blue flames begins consuming Elson's body as he screams. Once the synthesis is complete, Jenna levels up and successfully obtains a new skill called Eagle's Eye. She walks out of the chamber and shakily tells Han that she doesn't know what just happened. Elson literally turned into light and vanished. Han explains the brutal truth. Inside that room, useless people are sacrificed as fodder, that his turn is next. He looks over at the remaining 2 useless heroes, wondering which one of them will be joining him inside. The remaining newbies are visibly shaken to their core. With zero time to think, Isel calls out Han and the next lucky sacrificial hero, Toby. Toby looks like he has just seen a ghost. Once inside the synthesis center, Toby completely loses his mind, unable to accept his fate. He begins laughing nervously, deluding himself into asking if he's finally being sent back home. He convinces himself that he's leaving this place for good. Han can't be bothered to deal with the guy's mental break, telling Toby that he is welcome to delude himself if it makes him feel better. Just like that, the synthesis completes, and Toby turns into light and disappears forever. Han levels up from the experience boost and obtains the skill Composure. As Han walks out and passes the very last remaining newbie, he coldly tells him that he got incredibly lucky. Jenna watches the room and asks Han if a hero just disappears in that room the moment the master decides they aren't needed anymore. Han asks why she looks so down, reminding her that she was just complaining about cleaning up after them. Jenna nervously confesses her deepest fear, asking if she will end up just like them the moment she becomes useless one day. Han calmly explains the scaling reality of the tower. The higher the floors, the stronger the monsters and the summoned humans will be. She will either die to their foes in battle or end up as a sacrificial hero in synthesis. There is no third option. Jenna nods, fully understanding the stakes now. To comfort her, Han tells her that if she wants to live, she needs to listen to her father's advice. Stand on the correct side. The next day at the training grounds, Jenna approaches Han, takes a deep bow, and formally asks to be in his care. A thoroughly confused Han asks her if she ate something wrong for breakfast. Jenna reminds him of his own words from yesterday, noting that he promised he would save her as long as she stood firmly on his side. She wants to make her allegiance crystal clear right here and now, begging him to look after her. Han is quietly amazed by her resolve, clarifying that he simply meant she won't die as long as she does what is required of her, so she shouldn't worry. Suddenly, another voice speaks up, begging to be let into their circle. It's Eren, the final newbie who got lucky and survived the synthesis round. He deeply apologizes to them both, admitting he was an absolute fool. He acknowledges that he has caused nothing but inconveniences so far, and that it was incredibly cowardly of him to leave all the life and death fighting to the 2 of them. With a determined look, he vows to completely change his ways and stand with them. Han is skeptical, asking how he can possibly trust someone like Eren. Eren immediately bows his head, desperately stating that if Han wants, he will literally kneel right in front of him, begging to be taken into the group. Seeing this, Jenna speaks up, completely believing that Eren has finally come to his senses. Han picks up a wooden stick and asks if he has ever fought monsters before. He points out that he also came into this world knowing absolutely nothing. Eren is genuinely surprised to hear this, given how masterfully Han fights. Han tosses the stick to Eren and tells him that he only fights this well because he has the absolute determination to survive. He explains that the stick is a spear. Though Han is no expert, he heard it is one of the easiest weapons to learn, so Eren should try using it. Han then asks him if he understands the tactical concept of melee, mid, and long-range combat. Jenna confidently pipes up, answering that melee range is the sword, middle range is the spear, and long range is the bow. Han says him that for a 3-person squad with nothing else to rely on, this is easily one of the most effective strategic combinations available. Han wastes no time and tells Eren to get ready to fight. Eren instantly panics, asking if he isn't going to be taught how to actually use a spear first. Han immediately rushes at him, asking how on earth he is supposed to teach him when he has never held a spear in his life. Han reminds him that he had to teach himself how to use a sword, so Eren can do the exact same thing with the spear. As Han swings his wooden weapon at Eren, he tells him he should at least be grateful he has a real person to practice with. All Han had when he started was a literal scarecrow. Tensing up in terror, Eren closes his eyes tightly and tries to blindly thrust the spear forward. Han ruthlessly kicks him away, sharply warning him never to close his eyes in the middle of a real fight. Eren violently pukes from the sheer impact of the kick. Han looks down at him, asking if this pathetic display is truly all he can manage, especially since this isn't even a real fight with his life on the line. He reminds Eren that if he were facing a monster right now, he would already be dead. Jenna steps in, telling Han he is being far too harsh for Eren's very first day. Han coldly counters, stating that he has absolutely no intention of carrying dead weight along. He will ruthlessly throw away anyone who fails to catch up. Han then asks Eren if he has a family. Eren chokes out that he has a younger sister waiting for him back home. Han tells him he is better off than he is, because Han has absolutely no one. Pointing the wooden sword directly at Eren's neck, Han asks a deeply serious question. What does Eren think will happen if he fails to go back? If he gets slaughtered by monsters, it will hurt like hell, meaning he would honestly be better off just getting melted down in the synthesis chamber instead. Han warns him that he shouldn't bother starting anything if he doesn't have the resolve to finish it. Eren grits his teeth in pure defiance, and Han lets out a satisfied smile, noting that the look in Eren's eyes is finally much better. Suddenly, a system prompt flashes in the sky. The Master has selected the Level 1 Weapons Storage Annex building, specifically the Blacksmith's Forge, asking if they would like to construct it. The Master hits agree, and 500 premium gems are instantly consumed for the construction. Han watches the facility materialize, realizing they are able to move much more freely now, and finds it highly advantageous that a blacksmith is finally available. He loudly calls out for Isel to show herself. The fairy manifests immediately, thoroughly annoyed, demanding to know who Han thinks he is to order her around like a servant. Without even bothering to look at her, Han tells her he is entirely sick of that repetitive response and tells her to say something else for a change. Isel gets so incredibly mad that she looks ready to punch him, but she refrains because doing so would violate the system rules. Paying her anger absolutely no mind, Han asks if she was the one sending strategic tips to master anything. He asks if she can use the internet, deducing that if she can interfere with the account system, she can easily browse the web too. Isel proudly agrees, admitting that web surfing is her personal hobby. Han smirks, telling her that the tips she forwarded were clearly copied directly from the game's online strategy forum. Specifically, the meta guide to upgrade the training center by 1 level right after summoning 10 weapons, followed immediately by unlocking the blacksmith. Isel is completely taken aback, her jaw dropping as she asks how a random 1-star unit could possibly know that exact progression path. Han casually reveals that he is incredibly familiar with that popular post on the official Pick Me Up forum because a top player named Loki was the one who uploaded it. Isel is shocked that he even knows the name Loki. Han reminds her that he was a veteran user of the game too. Isel quickly brushes Han off, reminding him that he is just a pathetic, low-level hero trapped in the bottom tiers right now, and she completely begins to glaze Sir Loki right to Han's face. She gushes that Loki is a master among masters, a literal god of pick-me-up, and declares that he honestly would have been the undisputed rank 1 global player if he just had a single 7-star hero. Han lets out a massive smirk, amusedly asking why she likes Loki so much. Isel passionately explains that it's because Loki is a tactical genius who consistently makes the absolute impossible possible. Han is thoroughly entertained by her starry-eyed praise. Isel scoffs at him, stating that as a former pick-me-up player himself, Loki's greatness should be basic knowledge to him. As she continues to celebrate her idol, Han looks at her with an amused, pitying expression. He tells her he feels genuinely sorry for her, because the Master of Masters, her absolute ultimate idol Loki, is standing right in front of her. Please subscribe 10 likes, and I will drop part 2 of this manhwa recap.